At the entrance to it lay a curious rocky island with what looked like an old ruined castle on the top of it. "Isn't that a funny place?" she said. "I wonder what it's called." "It's called Kieran Island," said George, her eyes as blue as the sea as she turned to look at it. "It's a lovely place to go to. If I like you, I may take you there someday. But I don't promise. The only way to get there is by boat." "Who does the funny island belong to?" asked Julian. George made a most surprising answer. "It belongs to me," she said. "At least, it will belong to me, someday. It will be my very own island, and my very own castle." Chapter 3: A Queer Story, and a New Friend. The three children stared at George in the greatest surprise. George stared back at them. "What do you mean?" said Dick, at last. "Kieran Island can't belong to you." "You're just boasting." "No, I'm not," said George. "You ask Mother." "If you're not going to believe what I say, I won't tell you another word more." "But I don't tell untruths." "I think it's being a coward if you don't tell the truth, and I'm not a coward." Julian remembered that Aunt Fanny had said that George was absolutely truthful, and he scratched his head and looked at George again. How could she be possibly telling the truth? "Well, of course we'll believe you if you tell us the truth," he said. "But it does sound a bit extraordinary, you know. Really it does." "Children don't usually own islands, even funny little ones like that." "It isn't a funny little island," said George, fiercely. "It's lovely." "There are rabbits there, as tame as can be, and the big cormorants sit on the other side, and all kinds of gulls go there." "The castle is wonderful too, even if it is all in ruins." "It sounds fine," said Dick. "How does it belong to you, Georgina?" George glared at him and didn't answer. "Sorry," said Dick, hastily. "I didn't mean to call you Georgina. I meant to call you George." "Go on, George, tell us how the island belongs to you," said Julian, slipping his arm through his sulky little cousin's. She pulled away from him at once. "Don't do that," she said. "I'm not sure that I want to make friends with you yet." All right," said Julian, losing patience. Be enemies or anything you like. We don't care. But we like your mother awfully, and we don't want her to think we won't make friends with you. Do you like my mother? Said George, her bright blue eyes softening a little. Yes, she's a dear, isn't she? Well, all right, I'll tell you how Kieran Castle belongs to me. Come and sit down here in this corner where nobody can hear us. They all sat down in a sandy corner of the beach. George looked across at the little island in the bay. It's like this, she said. Years ago my mother's people owned nearly all the land around here. Then they got poor, and had to sell most of it. But they could never sell that little island, because nobody thought it worth anything, especially as the castle has been ruined for years. Fancy nobody wanting to buy a dear little island like that, said Dick. I'd buy it at once if I had the money. All that's left of what Mother's family owned is our own house, Kieran Cottage, and a farm a little way off, and Kieran Island, said George. Mother says when I'm grown up it will be mine. She says she doesn't want it now, either, so she's sort of given it to me. It belongs to me. It's my own private island, and I don't let anyone go there unless they get my permission.